Greetings from the truck. All you guys that are involved in relationships that don't seem to be going right. There's a propensity today that an awful lot of people think that someone else is going to make them happy. Now, my dearly departed mother used to say, happiness is a state of mind. You choose to be happy or you choose not to be happy. If you are involved with someone that believes that it is your job to make them happy, they are by nature an unhappy person, and you will never make them happy. They will always want more. And typically, women want to be made happy. There are myriads of fables, old stories from hundreds of years ago, uh, where it depicts women as always being unhappy. Nothing is ever enough. And there is truth to this. Once in a while, you will find a woman that is a happy person. Typically, uh, today, I believe it's even worse because we've grown up in a society where we've had, um, you know, entertainment at our fingertips. Uh, my generation or so is one of the first. I'm toward the end of the baby boomers, and you've got the baby boomers, right after World War II. I'm almost 60, so you've got about a 10-year span in there. The 60 to 70-year-old group that has always had entertainment at their fingertip in the relationship of, television, that sort of thing, electronic entertainment. And now it's, you carry it around in your pocket. And it's developed into this expectation that you should be happy or entertained every minute of the day. Well, that's just unrealistic. When you have an individual that demands to be made happy, and they have this electronic communication, this electronic entertainment at their fingertips, and they're always on it. They're using it to look at what others are doing. Now, this is something to pay attention to. Doing. And they look back at their life sitting on their ass doing nothing but demanding to be entertained. Then they have a perceived reason to be unhappy because they're not being entertained. They don't have the things that someone else does, that someone else is doing, that sort of thing. So they're unhappy and they take it out on you. All right. Now, the perception that these people that are doing things are happy is because everybody likes to portray themselves as being happy. Perhaps they are. And they're being creative. They're actually doing something. And it's been my experience that people create contentment or happiness through accomplishment. And accomplishment is derived at by doing stuff. Now, if someone is constantly sitting on their ass, of course they're not going to be happy. They have to divorce themselves from this electronic entertainment device and start doing. And once they start doing, they will accomplish things. Once they accomplish things, and it is something that is of value, all right, then they have that feeling of contentment, that accomplishment that they can put in their pocket, and they have demonstrated that they have personal value. Without this feeling of personal value, you don't have that feeling of accomplishment. Now, I recently was dealing with someone that, um, years ago they dreaded doing a particular task. And wouldn't you know it, after they've been away from that task for a while, for a few years, they want to do that task again. Couple of things going on here. The number one, it brings them back mentally to a time in their youth, in their younger years, where they really had no responsibility. All they had to do was, get up and suck air and do what they were told. And that wasn't much. But it also was something that they could look back on, and they could remember the feeling of accomplishment that they had. Now, that feeling of accomplishment brought contentment, brought satisfaction, which they are lacking at the moment. This individual is dealing with a toxic relationship that has very little joy in it. But the task involves a certain amount of alone time and work that is not available. Everybody needs some alone time. And that alone time allows people to collect their thoughts. Now, if you have someone that is pretty empty headed and is not able to do any deep thinking, alone time seems to be a curse to them. They have to be entertained, they have to be in the middle of things. An introvert tends to be one that is capable of a little bit of introspection. Time alone is actually a good thing because it allows them to analyze what's going on during the day, to figure out their tasks for tomorrow, to plan. And once you plan, you have the tasks that you want to do in mind. Now, I'm saying this again, do. As my mom said, happiness is a state of mind. You choose to be happy or you choose not to be happy. For all of you out there that are unhappy, that are expecting to be happy because someone else makes you happy, you're in for a shock. Life doesn't work that way. You will wind up sucking the life out of someone else, and you will not be any happier. You'll just acquire more stuff that doesn't really mean anything. How much stuff do you have that you used once or twice and then it collects dust, or you throw it out, or you sell it in a garbage sale? And it's just a churning of stuff. Our society or economy right now is based on consumption. It's a consumer economy, consuming the stuff that is out there. Not a producing economy, a consuming economy. All we are is we're a bunch of leeches that are sucking the life out of other things. Now, if we were a producing economy, where we spent all of our time doing things that had value, that we would recognize the value in the doing thereof, we would be a much richer economy, a more self-reliant economy. But in the act of consuming, and consuming unnecessarily, in our economy, we consume more than most of the rest of the world, and much of what we are consuming is bullshit. So, in that act of consuming, in that continuous desire to be entertained with the idea that if I only had XYZ, I would be happy, we're chasing a tail. We're sucking up natural resources at an incredible rate that really isn't going to produce the results that we desire. All it's going to do is make some people miserable because of this constant grind, this rat race that we're all on. And what we need to do is step back and find those activities. Remember, it's an act of doing, again, activities, not going someplace and being entertained, but an act of doing. Finding those things that bring us some level of a feeling of accomplishment. And the consumption for consumption's sake needs to be weeded out of our lives whenever we can. Just the thought for in the morning. And all you guys out there that are stuck in a toxic relationship where one person demands to be entertained, and if they don't get their way and they're not happy, guess what? Life is not a continuous circle of happiness. And happiness and contentment are two different things. The contentment is deeper. Contentment, happiness. Happiness is fleeting. And it can be a trap if you're wanting to be happy all the time. You're trapped in a cycle that you can't get out of. And if you're stuck with an individual that feels as though that they need to be made happy every damn minute of the day, you're never going to make them happy. They will never be happy because they don't have happiness in their soul. Happiness comes from within. Contentment comes from accomplishment of doing something that brings you a level of contentment that people who sit on their ass all day long will never know. And I'm not, just be aware, there's plenty of people out there that have medical conditions that cause them to get fat. But there's a hell of a lot of people out there that are fat just because they're lazy. Now, all of us that are getting up there in years a little bit, hey, I know we put on a few pounds. We get slower. And perhaps we haven't figured out yet that we can't eat like we're 20 years old. I know up here we still think that we're 20. But the body just doesn't cooperate. Now, those of you out there that are fit into your 60s and 70s, hey, you guys are rocking it. A lot of us, the stupidity of youth has taken its toll. You can only have so many things broken and it not come back and haunt you. All of those things that I remember. Now, don't hurt yourself. You'll regret it when you get older. Yep. But, back to the point, there's an awful lot of young people out there that are just plain fat because of laziness, because of this stupid thing, and the TV, and the video games, and all of that shit. That is not doing shit. That is wasting life. Why in God's name are you continuing to suck air and the only thing you accomplish is the consumption of electrons and the ingestion of photons that do nothing? It's like you're on an electronic entertainment carousel and just sucking up resources and producing nothing. God, that's a terrible way to live. Get out and do something. Get out. Find out what brings you joy. Find out what brings you contentment. Create something. Create something that is a work of art. Mow your grass. Do woodworking. Learn something. Even those that are incapable of doing an awful lot, the ability to learn, think, and then pass that knowledge on to someone else. I'll tell you what, the doing of education and watching other people blossom, even if you can't do it yourself, you are making a hellacious impact in other people. When you die, when you're on your deathbed, you can look back and say, I made a difference in someone else's life. That is a sense of accomplishment. That is a life well lived when you have made a positive impact on others. But when you spend your life doing nothing but consuming or being consumed by another that will never be happy, that will always demand more, that is a wasted life. Those people will never be happy. Those people will always find someone else to suck the life out of. Don't be one of those bags of life being sucked out of. And guess what? I have a turkey out here in my backyard. And here's a little, I have a turkey chick right out here.